The bus stop on the edge of Richmond sat empty under the orange glow of a dying street light. Sophia Williams shifted her 3-month-old son, Ethan, against her shoulder, feeling the weight in her arms and the deeper weight pressing down on her chest. 4 months. 4 months since Michael's funeral, and she still wasn't used to coming home to silence. The apartment waited for her like a tomb, cold, dark, filled with memories that cut deeper than any knife. Her phone showed 8:47 p.m. The last bus had left 20 minutes ago, and the next one wouldn't come for another hour. Maybe longer. Great, she muttered under her breath, already calculating the Uber cost she couldn't afford. Her bank account was running on fumes. Between the funeral expenses, the mounting credit card debt, and the formula Ethan needed, every dollar felt like her last. That's when she heard it, a sound that made her freeze in place, her breath catching in her throat, crying. Not a child's cry, but something worse, something that came from a place of deep, unrelenting brokenness, the kind of sobbing that only happens when hope has completely run out. Sophia turned slowly, her maternal instincts warring with her survival instincts. On the stone bench 15 feet behind her sat an elderly couple, white-haired and hunched together like they were trying to become one person. The woman's face was buried in the man's shoulder, her body shaking with each sob. The man's eyes were closed, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks in silent rivers of grief. Sophia's first instinct was to look away. Mind your business. Get home. You've got enough problems. You can barely take care of yourself and your baby. Don't get involved. But something about the way they held each other, like shipwrecked survivors clinging to driftwood in an endless ocean, made her feet move before her mind could stop them. She walked over, Ethan warm and sleeping against her chest. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Are you okay?" The woman looked up, and Sophia's heart cracked at what she saw. Blue eyes, red and swollen from crying, deep lines of exhaustion and fear carved into a face that couldn't have been younger than 70. This was someone's grandmother. Someone's mother. "Oh, honey," the woman said, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to disturb anyone." "You're not disturbing me," Sophia said, glancing around at the empty street. Closed shops lined the opposite side. Not a single car had passed in the last 10 minutes. "But are you waiting for someone?" The man opened his eyes. His voice came out rough, like he'd been screaming and had nothing left. "Our son, Ryan. He brought us here 6 hours ago." 6 hours? Sophia felt ice settle in her stomach. "He said he'd be back in an hour," the woman continued, wiping her face with a trembling hand. "He had an appointment, he said. Important business. We waited and waited, and—" Her voice dissolved into fresh tears. "Do you have a phone? Can you call him?" The man pulled a flip phone from his pocket. The screen was completely cracked, dark and lifeless. "Dropped it last week. Haven't had a chance to replace it." "What about his number? I can call from mine." The woman's face crumpled again, shame mixing with despair. I don't remember it." "Arthur, do you remember Ryan's number?" Arthur shook his head slowly, defeat written across every line of his face. "It's programmed in the phone. I never had to memorize it." Sophia felt something cold settle deep in her bones. She looked at the empty road, the closed shops across the street, the darkness pressing in from all sides like a living thing. This wasn't downtown Richmond. This was the edge of nowhere, a place people came to be forgotten. "Where do you live?" she asked carefully. "I can get you a ride home." "Acacia Gardens," Arthur said, a flicker of hope crossing his face. "On Flower Street. Ryan bought us a beautiful house there. Small, but perfect for us. He moved us in 3 weeks ago." The woman, who introduced herself as Evelyn, managed a small, proud smile despite her tears. "He's been so good to us, selling our old house, handling all the paperwork. We didn't have to worry about a thing." Something about that sentence felt terribly, horribly wrong. But Sophia pushed the feeling aside and pulled out her phone, trying to ignore the low battery warning flashing at the top of the screen. The Uber estimate made her wince. $38 to Acacia Gardens. That was groceries. That was diapers. That was the difference between making rent and being late again. She pressed confirm. Evelyn noticed Ethan then, still sleeping peacefully against Sophia's shoulder. Her expression softened completely, transforming from grief to something achingly tender. "Oh my, how old?" 3 months. "He's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful." Evelyn's smile faded, and she asked the question Sophia had been dreading. "Your husband must be so proud." The question hung in the cold night air like smoke. Sophia felt her throat tighten, felt the familiar sting behind her eyes. I'm a widow." The word still felt foreign in her mouth, like a language she'd never wanted to learn. Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It's okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. "But what else do you say?" Arthur stood slowly, his joints creaking audibly in the silence. "Young lady, we're very grateful. More than you know." Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. The Uber arrived 12 minutes later, pulling up with its headlights cutting through the darkness. Sophia climbed in with Arthur and Evelyn, telling herself she just wanted to make sure they got home safely. That's all. Just see them to the door. Make sure they're okay. Then go home and forget this ever happened. The driver, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and a weathered face, nodded as Arthur gave him the address. "Acacia Gardens," the driver said, pulling away from the curb. "Nice area. New development." They drove in silence for a while. Sophia watched the couple through the rearview mirror, watched the way Arthur held Evelyn's hand, his thumb moving in small, unconscious circles over her knuckles. It was such a simple gesture, but it made Sophia's chest ache with a longing so sharp it took her breath away. Michael used to do that. "Turn here," Arthur said as they entered a neighborhood of neat houses with small, well-maintained yards. Flower Street should be the third right. The driver turned, then turned again. Sophia felt it before she saw it. The way the driver's shoulders tensed, the way he slowed down, his eyes scanning house numbers with growing confusion. "Sir, what number on Flower Street?" 42. It's a E. Small yellow house with white shutters. Ryan showed us pictures. It has a little garden in front and... They drove the length of Flower Street once, then again. The numbers went from 38 to 40, then 44. There was no 42. There was no yellow house with white shutters. There was an empty lot with a faded "For Sale" sign and tall weeds swaying in the night breeze. "Arthur." Evelyn's voice had gone very small, very frightened. "Arthur, where's our house?" I don't understand." Arthur leaned forward, squinting at the houses they passed. "This is Flower Street. Ryan showed it to me. He sent pictures. I saw it. I saw our house." The driver caught Sophia's eye in the mirror. His expression said everything she was already thinking. This is bad. This is very, very bad. Sophia's hands had gone cold despite the heater running. "Arthur, do you have any paperwork? Anything with an address?" "Ryan has all of that. He said we didn't need to worry about the details. He's a financial advisor. He knows what he's doing." Sophia's alarm bells weren't just ringing now. They were screaming. Can you describe what Ryan looks like? Your son?" Evelyn turned to her, and Sophia saw it then. The moment realization began to crack through denial like ice breaking on a frozen lake. "Why are you asking us that?" Evelyn whispered. "Please, just describe him." He's 42, brown hair, glasses. He's a financial advisor. He's been helping us for months, getting our affairs in order after we retired. He sold our old house and—" Arthur's voice broke. "Oh, God. Oh, God, no." "Arthur, what's wrong?" Evelyn grabbed his arm, panic rising in her voice. "What's happening?" "Our house. Our real house. Downtown Richmond. 40 years we lived there. He said it was too big, too old, that we needed the money. He said he'd invest it for us, get us better returns. He said—" Arthur couldn't finish. His whole body started to shake. The driver pulled, over to the curb. The meter read $42 now, still climbing. Sophia made a decision that would change everything. "Come home with me." 3 heads turned to stare at her. "What?" Evelyn whispered. "Come home with me tonight. It's late. You're exhausted, and we need to figure this out. I have a spare bedroom. You can stay there. We can get some sleep, and tomorrow we figure out what Ryan did." "We can't possibly—" "Yes, you can." Sophia shifted Ethan, who was starting to fuss, sensing the tension in the air. "I'm not leaving you at a hotel. I'm not leaving you alone. You come home with me, we get some sleep, and tomorrow we figure out what happened. We figure out where your money went." The words came out with more certainty than she felt. Her apartment was tiny, barely 900 square feet. Her life was barely held together with tape and determination and sheer stubborn will. Her mother-in-law was already angry that she'd missed Sunday dinner again. But looking at Arthur and Evelyn, at the way they clung to each other like shipwrecked survivors in a dark ocean, Sophia knew she couldn't walk away. "Okay," Arthur said finally. His voice was hollow, emptied out. "Okay." The driver met Sophia's eyes in the mirror again, this time with something that looked like respect. He reset the meter. "New address." Sophia gave it to him, watching her bank balance in her mind drop to a number that made her stomach hurt. As they drove through the dark streets toward her apartment, Sophia felt Evelyn's hand suddenly cover hers. The older woman's skin was paper-thin, cool to the touch. "Thank you," Evelyn whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the engine. "I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you." Sophia looked down at Ethan, then back at the couple who'd been abandoned on a stone bench by someone they trusted. Someone who was supposed to love them. "Because someone should," she said quietly. "Someone should." The car pulled up outside her, building 20 minutes later. Sophia paid the driver, watching her bank balance drop to a number that would keep her awake at night. She led Arthur and Evelyn up 3 flights of stairs to her small 2-bedroom apartment, apologizing the whole way for the broken elevator that the landlord refused to fix. When she unlocked the door and flipped on the lights, she saw her home through their eyes. Modest, clean, a playpen in the corner, dishes drying by the sink. Michael's jacket still hanging on the hook by the door because she couldn't bring herself to move it. Couldn't bring herself to admit he was really gone. "It's not much," she started. "It's perfect," Evelyn said, and she meant it. "It's absolutely perfect." Morning light came too early, as it always did with a 3-month-old. Sophia woke to the sound of someone moving in her kitchen, and for one disorienting, heart-stopping second, she thought it was Michael. Then reality crashed back like a wave, cold and merciless. She found Evelyn at the stove, scrambling eggs with practiced efficiency. The coffee maker was already bubbling, filling the apartment with a rich, warm smell that reminded Sophia of better days. Arthur sat at the small table, looking smaller somehow in the daylight, older, staring at his hands like he'd never seen them before. You didn't have to do that, Sophia said. Evelyn turned, managing a tired smile. Old habits. I haven't slept past 6 in 50 years. They ate in awkward silence, the weight of what had happened settling over them like a heavy blanket. Ethan fussed in his bassinet, and Evelyn stood immediately. May I? Sophia nodded, watching as Evelyn lifted Ethan with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. She swayed gently, humming something soft and melodic. The baby quieted instantly, settling into her arms like he belonged there. You're good at that, Sophia said. I raised 3 children, 4 grandchildren. Evelyn's voice caught. I thought Ryan was taking care of us. After we retired, money got tight. Our old house, it was beautiful, but falling apart. The roof leaked. The foundation had cracks. Ryan said we were sitting on a gold mine, that we should sell and invest the money wisely. Arthur finally spoke, his voice raw. He showed us properties, took us to see houses. Acacia Gardens, he said. Perfect for retirees. Gated community. Medical facilities nearby. We signed papers. So many papers. Do you remember how much he sold your house for? Sophia asked carefully. Arthur's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists on the table. $320,000. He said it was fair market value. Said he'd invested it, and we'd have $500,000 in 6 months. Guaranteed returns. Sophia felt ice spreading through her veins. She pulled out her phone, typing fast. Real estate values, Richmond Chester Avenue. The results loaded. Her hands started shaking. What? Evelyn moved closer, still holding Ethan. What is it? Houses on Chester Avenue are selling for $550,000, some going for $600,000. The words hung in the air, like smoke after a gunshot. Arthur stood up so fast his chair scraped across the floor, with a sound like a scream. That's not. He said 320 was generous. He said the neighborhood had declined. He showed us comparisons. He showed us. He lied, Sophia said, her voice flat and hard. Arthur, he stole at least $200,000 from you. Evelyn sank into a chair, her face going pale. No, he's our son. He wouldn't. He's our son. Where are the papers? The deed transfer, the sale documents? Ryan kept them. He said we didn't need to worry about the details, that he'd handle everything. He's a financial advisor. He knows what he's doing. An alarm went off in Sophia's mind, loud and insistent. Every instinct she'd developed working in banking for the past 6 years started screaming. This wasn't just a bad deal. This was fraud. Systematic, calculated, deliberate fraud. The doorbell rang. Sophia froze. It was 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Nobody visited her on Saturday mornings. She opened the door to find Sharon, her mother-in-law, standing in the hallway with a covered dish and a smile that died the second she looked past Sophia into the apartment. Who are they? Sharon's voice went sharp as a knife. Sharon, hi. I wasn't expecting. I brought you breakfast casserole, like I do every Saturday. Sharon pushed past her, stopping in the middle of the living room. Her eyes moved from Arthur to Evelyn to the small overnight bags by the couch. Sophia, a word, outside, now. It wasn't a request. Sophia followed her mother-in-law onto the small balcony, closing the sliding door behind them. Through the glass, she could see Arthur and Evelyn sitting rigid, pretending not to watch. What the hell is this? Sharon hissed. They needed help. Their son abandoned them, and I don't care if their son set them on fire. You don't bring strangers into your home, into my grandson's home. It's my home, Sharon. Is it? Sharon's face went red. Because last I checked, I'm the one paying half your rent. I'm the one who comes here 4 days a week to watch Ethan while you work. I'm the one who's been holding this family together since Michael died." The words hit like slaps because they were true. All of it was true. "They had nowhere to go," Sophia said quietly. "That's not your problem. You can barely take care of yourself and your son. You work 10-hour days. You can't afford childcare. You're drowning in credit card debt from the funeral. And now you want to add 2 elderly strangers to that disaster? They're not strangers anymore. It's been one night, Sophia. One night, and you think you know them. You think you can save them?" Sharon stepped closer, her voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. "I've been patient. I've been understanding. But this is insane. You want to know what happens to people who take in every stray that needs help? They lose everything. What do you want me to do? Throw them out? Yes. Call social services. Let them handle it. That's what they're for." "Sharon, no. Listen to me." Sharon's voice dropped low, menacing. "It's them or me. You want to play Mother Teresa? Fine. But I'm not going to stand by and watch you destroy yourself and put my grandson at risk. You choose right now, them or me." The ultimatum hung between them like a blade. "You can't ask me to do that." "I just did. Them or me, Sophia. I won't come back here if those people are still in your house. I won't watch Ethan. I won't help you anymore. And you'll have no one." Sharon turned and walked back through the apartment without another word. The door slammed behind her, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Sophia stood on the balcony, her hands gripping the railing so hard her knuckles went white. Through the glass, she saw Evelyn and Arthur sitting exactly as before, but their faces had changed. They'd heard everything. Sophia opened the door and stepped back inside, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. "We'll go," Arthur said immediately, standing with difficulty. "We'll leave right now. We're so sorry. We never meant to cause you trouble." Evelyn was already gathering their bags, moving with quick, panicked efficiency. "You've been so kind, but your mother-in-law is right. You can't risk your family for us. We're strangers. We're nobody. Stop." Sophia's voice came out harder than she intended. Both of them froze. "Just stop. Sit down. But sit down." They sat, looking at her with confusion and fear. Sophia pulled out her laptop, setting it on the table with a decisive thud. "Before you go anywhere, I need information. Your full names, your old address, Ryan's full name, when he sold the house. Everything you can. Remember." "Why?" Arthur asked. "Because I'm going to fix this." "You can't," Evelyn whispered. "He's our son. He has all the legal documents. We signed everything he put in front of us because we trusted him. Because he's our son." "Then we find a lawyer. We file a police report. With what money?" Arthur's voice cracked. "We have nothing. Ryan took everything. We can't afford a lawyer. We can barely afford food." Sophia opened her laptop and started typing. "My family's lawyer, David. He handled Michael's estate. Let me call him." "It's Saturday," Evelyn said. "David owes me a favor." Sophia pulled out her phone and dialed. He answered on the third ring. "Sophia, everything okay?" "David, I need your help. I need it now, and I need it pro bono." There was a pause. "Tell me." She told him everything. The bus stop, the missing house, the numbers that didn't add up. Arthur and Evelyn sat frozen, listening to their nightmare being laid out in clinical detail. When Sophia finished, David was quiet for a long moment. "Those are all the signs of a scam," he said finally. "Elder financial abuse, fraud, possibly identity theft. Sophia, this is serious. This is criminal. Can you help them? Yes. But it's going to take time. Months, maybe years. The legal system moves slowly, and if Ryan has the paperwork, just tell me you'll try." Another pause. I'll try. Send me everything you have. I'll start making calls Monday morning. Thank you, David. Sophia, why are you doing this? She looked at Arthur and Evelyn, at their faces carved with betrayal and fear. When my husband passed away, I felt abandoned by the whole world, like I was falling and no one would catch me. Her voice broke. They were abandoned by their own son. I know how much it hurts to feel like you have no one. She hung up. Evelyn was crying again, but differently this time. Not from fear or grief, but from something else entirely. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for us? Because someone should, Sophia said simply. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far in the story below. I read every single one. The weekend crawled by in a strange, suspended fog. Sophia called out sick from work Monday, something she never did, something that would probably cost her later, and spent the day on her laptop while Arthur and Evelyn sat nearby, speaking in low, broken sentences about a life that no longer existed. David called at 3 p.m. I found the property records, he said without preamble. Your house on Chester Avenue sold 3 months ago for $280,000. Arthur's face went gray. $280. Ryan told us $320. He pocketed $40,000 before you even saw a dime. But that's not the worst part. Sophia felt her stomach drop. What's the worst part? The buyer was a shell corporation. I tracked it back. Ryan owns it. He sold your house to himself at below market value, then likely flipped it immediately for full price. You are never going to see that $500,000, Arthur. You are never going to see any of it. Evelyn made a sound like she'd been punched. There's more, David continued. I did some digging. This isn't Ryan's first time. He's done this to at least 3 other elderly couples in the past 4 years. Different names, different schemes, but same pattern. He gains their trust, convinces them to sell property, then vanishes with the money. So he's a con artist, Sophia said. Our son is a professional con artist. Not just that. He hasn't paid property taxes on your old house in 3 years. The new owners are going to get hit with liens. He's left a trail of financial destruction wherever he goes. Arthur stood abruptly and walked to the window, his back to them. His shoulders shook. What do we do? Sophia asked. I'm filing a police report today. I'll submit everything to the DA's office. But Sophia, you need to understand, even if they catch him, even if they prosecute, the money is probably gone. Hidden in offshore accounts, spent, laundered. Recovery is unlikely. So they lost everything. Everything, David confirmed. 40 years of equity, gone. I'm so sorry. After the call ended, nobody spoke for a long time. Arthur stayed at the window. Evelyn sat with her hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. Finally, Arthur turned around. His eyes were red and hollow. 40 years, he said. 40 years I worked at the shipyard. Double shifts, holidays, weekends. We saved every penny. We bought that house with money we earned with our own hands. We raised our children there. We were going to leave it to them. And now, he couldn't finish. Now we have nothing, Evelyn whispered. We're homeless. We're 75 years old and we're homeless. Sophia felt something crack open in her chest, something raw and painful. She thought about Michael, about the life insurance policy Sharon had helped her navigate, about the small savings account that was all she had left of their plans together. She thought about being abandoned. She made another decision. You're not homeless. You live here. Arthur shook his head. We can't ask that of you. Your mother-in-law was right, Evelyn added. We're strangers, and you're not strangers anymore. And I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. You live here until we figure this out. But the money? I don't want your money. Sophia stopped, searching for words. When Michael died, people said nice things. They brought casseroles and flowers. Then they disappeared. Everyone disappeared. I was drowning and no one stayed. So I'm staying for you, because that's what people should do." Evelyn stood and walked over to Sophia. She took both of Sophia's hands in hers, her grip surprisingly strong. "You're a young woman with a baby and a full-time job. You can't take on two broken old people. Watch me." "Why? Give me one real reason why you'd do this." Sophia met her eyes. "Because when I look at you, I see myself 6 months ago. Alone, terrified, betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect me. And I remember wishing, praying, that someone would just stay. So I'm staying." "We have no money," Arthur said. "We can't pay rent. We can't—" "I don't care about rent." "Then what do you want from us?" The question hung in the air. Sophia looked at Ethan sleeping in his bassinet, tiny and vulnerable, and completely dependent on her. She thought about tomorrow, about going back to work, about Sharon's ultimatum. "Actually," she said slowly, "there is something." That night, after Arthur and Evelyn had gone to bed in her spare room, Sophia's phone rang. Sharon. She almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail. But she knew Sharon would just keep calling. "Hello. Are they still there?" Sharon's voice was ice. "Yes." "Then we're done. I won't be coming by any more. You're on your own, Sophia. Completely on your own." The line went dead. Sophia sat in the dark of her bedroom, holding her phone, feeling the weight of what she'd just lost. Sharon had been her lifeline. 4 days a week, Sharon watched Ethan while Sophia worked. Without that, she had nothing. She really hadn't thought about the logistics of the situation. Her maternity leave had ended 2 months ago. She worked 9 to 6 at the bank, sometimes later. Daycare cost $1,400 a month, money she absolutely didn't have. She couldn't bring Ethan to the office. She couldn't work from home. Without Sharon, she had no one to watch her son. Without work, she couldn't pay rent. The math was simple and devastating. She must have made a sound, because suddenly Ethan was crying. Not his hungry cry or his tired cry, but his pain cry. The one that meant his stomach hurt again. The colic that had been getting worse every night. Sophia stumbled to his bassinet, lifting him, trying to soothe him. He screamed harder, his little face turning red. She tried feeding him, burping him, changing him. Nothing worked. Nothing ever worked. A soft knock on her bedroom door. "Sophia? Can I help?" Evelyn stood in the doorway in a borrowed nightgown, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. "I don't know what's wrong with him," Sophia said, fighting tears. "He does this every night now. The doctor said it's colic, but nothing helps. Nothing I do helps." "May I try?" Sophia handed over her son, feeling like a failure, feeling like she was failing at the one thing that should come naturally. Evelyn settled into the rocking chair, laying Ethan across her knees face down. Her hands moved in slow, practiced circles on his tiny back. She hummed something low and melodic, something that sounded like it came from another time. Then she pulled a small cloth from her pocket, dampened it with water from the nightstand, and dabbed a few drops on the baby's lips. "Chamomile," she said softly. "Just a taste. My grandmother's trick." Within 2 minutes, Ethan stopped crying. Within 5, he was asleep. Sophia stared. "How did you—" "3 children, remember? Raised them all through colic. You learn things." Evelyn looked up, her face soft in the dim light. "Your mother-in-law, she doesn't do this?" "She feeds him and changes him. But when he cries like that, she just puts him in the bassinet and waits it out. Says crying is good for baby's lungs. That's old thinking, cruel thinking." Evelyn stood carefully, transferring Ethan back to his bassinet. He stayed asleep, peaceful, for the first time in weeks. "You're exhausted," Evelyn said. "I'm always exhausted." You need help? I had help. Now I don't. Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, feeling everything crash down at once. Sharon won't come back. I have to work. I can't afford daycare. I don't know what I'm going to do. Evelyn sat beside her. What time do you leave for work? 8:30. What time do you get home? 6:30 usually, sometimes 7. And Ethan, he eats every 3 hours? Like clockwork. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Then I could watch him. Sophia turned to stare at her. What? During the day while you work. I could watch Ethan. I'm good with babies. Better than I am at anything else anymore. Evelyn, no. You're dealing with your own crisis. You can't... Can't what? Sit around all day feeling sorry for myself? Dwelling on what my son did to us? Evelyn's voice turned fierce. I need a purpose, Sophia. I need to feel useful. I need to feel like I'm not just a burden taking up space in your home. You're not a burden. Then let me help. Let me watch Ethan while you work. Let me give back some of what you've given us. But Arthur can take care of himself during the day. He'll probably be more comfortable without me hovering over him anyway. Evelyn took Sophia's hand. Please, let me do this. Sophia looked at her son, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. She thought about tomorrow, about the impossible choice she'd been facing. She thought about daycare centers where babies screamed in rows of cribs, about strangers who'd never sing lullabies or know the chamomile trick. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The next morning, over breakfast, Sophia presented the idea to Arthur. He listened carefully, then nodded slowly. It makes sense, he said. Evelyn's a wonderful caregiver. She practically raised our grandchildren single-handed. But Sophia, he continued, his voice growing stronger, we should be clear about terms. Terms? A real arrangement, fair to everyone. Arthur's voice grew firmer. You're providing housing. Evelyn will provide childcare during your work hours. I may not be able to watch babies anymore, but I can cook, clean, do basic repairs. I worked maintenance for 30 years. I can fix the leak under your sink I noticed yesterday. Replace those loose floorboards. Patch the crack in your bathroom tile. You don't have to. Yes, we do. Arthur met her eyes. We're not charity cases. We're not helpless elderly people you rescued. We're capable adults who can contribute. If we're going to live here, it needs to be an exchange. Equal partners. Something shifted in the room. Sophia felt it. A subtle change in the air, in the way they looked at each other. Not pity, not charity. Something else. Something that felt almost like a family arrangement, Evelyn said softly. Yes, Arthur agreed. A family arrangement. We take care of Ethan during the day. You take care of us at night and on weekends. We pool our resources, share responsibilities. We help each other until we figure out what comes next. Sophia looked between them. Arthur sat straighter now, his shoulders back. Evelyn's eyes had lightened them again, something that had been missing since she'd first seen them at that bus stop. They didn't look like victims anymore. Okay, Sophia said. Okay, it's a deal. They shook hands across the table like it was a business contract. Maybe it was. Maybe that's exactly what it needed to be. That first week was chaos. Sophia went to work Tuesday morning, leaving Ethan with Evelyn, terrified the whole day. Every hour she wanted to call, to check, to make sure her baby was okay. She called during lunch, unable to help herself. Evelyn reported that Ethan had eaten well, napped twice, and was currently cooing at dust motes dancing in the sunshine, streaming through the living room window. Sophia came home to find dinner on the table. Arthur had cooked pot roast with vegetables, something Sophia hadn't made since Michael died. Something she didn't have the energy to make anymore. The apartment smelled like a home instead of a tomb. The floorboards in the hallway didn't creak anymore. By Friday, a strange rhythm had developed. Sophia would wake to find coffee already made, Evelyn ready to take Ethan the second Sophia finished nursing him. Arthur had a list of repairs he was working through methodically, humming old songs while he worked. At night, they'd eat dinner together. Real dinners at the table, talking about their days like families do. Arthur told stories about the shipyard, about the massive ships they'd built, about the camaraderie of working men. Evelyn shared memories of her children when they were small, carefully avoiding any mention of Ryan, steering around that wound like it was a cliff edge. Sophia talked about her work at the bank, about difficult customers and office politics, and the small victories that got her through the day. It felt almost normal, almost like a family. 2 weeks in, Sophia came home to find Evelyn teaching Ethan to track objects with his eyes, using a red rattle Arthur had built from scrap wood he'd found by the dumpster. "This is working," Sophia said, surprised at her own surprise. "Of course it is," Evelyn replied, not looking up from Ethan. "We're good at this. We may have lost everything else, but we're still good at taking care of people." That night, after Arthur and Evelyn had gone to bed, Sophia sat in the dark holding a sleeping Ethan. She thought about Sharon's ultimatum, about the choice she'd been forced to make. She didn't regret it, not even a little bit. For the first time since Michael died, the apartment didn't feel empty. The call from David came on a Wednesday morning while Sophia was at work. They found Ryan. Sophia stepped into an empty conference room, closing the door. "Where?" "Maryland. Arrested 2 days ago trying to run the same scam on another elderly couple. The police found documents linking him to Arthur and Evelyn's case. They're extraditing him back to Virginia. That's good news, right? It's a start. But Sophia, there's a problem." Her stomach dropped. "What problem?" "Adult Protective Services received an anonymous tip yesterday that Arthur and Evelyn are living with you. Someone reported that they're in an unsafe living situation." Sophia's blood went cold. "What?" "A social worker named Catherine Miller is being assigned to investigate. She'll probably contact you this week." "Investigate what?" "They're fine. They're better than fine." "I know. But the state takes these things seriously. Elder abuse, exploitation, unsafe housing conditions. They have to follow up on every report." "Who would report them?" David was quiet for a moment. "The call came from a Richmond area code. That's all I know." After hanging up, Sophia sat in the conference room staring at nothing. Someone had called Adult Protective Services. Someone who knew Arthur and Evelyn were staying with her. Sharon. It had to be Sharon. The social worker showed up Thursday evening. Catherine Miller was a thin woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a clipboard. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Miss Williams, I'm Catherine Miller from Adult Protective Services. May I come in?" Sophia led her inside, where Arthur and Evelyn sat on the couch, Ethan on Evelyn's lap. They looked like a tableau of domestic tranquility, like a painting of contentment. Catherine's smile tightened. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'm here to check on your welfare. I understand you've been staying here for approximately 2 weeks?" 3 weeks, Arthur corrected. "And we're fine. Better than fine." "I see." Catherine made a note on her clipboard. "Miss Williams, can you tell me about your experience caring for elderly individuals?" "They don't need caring for. They take care of themselves." "But you work full-time, correct? 10 hours a day?" "Yes." "Who supervises them when you're not home?" "Supervises?" Evelyn's voice went sharp. "We're not children." "Of course not. But at your age, accidents can happen. Falls, medication issues, confusion." Catherine turned back to Sophia. "Miss Williams, are you trained in elder care? Do you have medical knowledge?" "No, but do you have adequate insurance to cover medical emergencies? Have you made arrangements for their long-term care?" The questions kept coming, each one designed to prove Sophia was inadequate, unprepared, unsuitable. Each one a small cut designed to bleed her dry. "Miss Williams, I'm going to be frank." Catherine set down her clipboard. "While your intentions may be good, you're a young single mother with a full-time job. These individuals require specialized care and attention. There are facilities specifically designed for their needs." "We don't want a facility," Arthur said firmly. "We want to stay here." "Mr. Thompson, with all due respect, you're not in a position to make that assessment. You've been through a traumatic experience with your son. Your judgment may be compromised." "My judgment is fine. Nevertheless, the state has a responsibility to ensure your safety and well-being. I'll be recommending a more appropriate placement." Sophia felt rage building in her chest, hot and fierce. "They're not going anywhere." "That's not your decision to make." Catherine stood, her smile completely gone now. "I'll be filing my report next week. Someone will be in touch about placement options." After she left, the three of them sat in silence. "She's going to take us away," Evelyn whispered. "She's going to put us in some horrible facility where we'll die alone." "No," Sophia said. "No, she's not." She called David immediately. "There's one option," he said after she explained everything. "Legal guardianship. If you become their legal guardian, the state can't remove them without proving you're unfit. You'd have full legal and financial responsibility for their welfare, but you'd also have the authority to make decisions about their care." "How do I do that?" "It requires a court petition, a hearing, possibly a home study. It's not simple. And Sophia, you need to understand what you're taking on. If their medical bills pile up, you're responsible. If something happens to them, you're responsible. This isn't just having roommates. This is becoming their legal caregiver." Sophia looked at Arthur and Evelyn, at the fear in their faces, at the trust. "I want to do it," she said. "I want to be their guardian." David was quiet. "Okay, I'll start the paperwork. This is going to get complicated." "When is it not?" "Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. If you were in Sophia's shoes, facing a situation like this, what would you do? Share your thoughts in the comments." The guardianship petition took 2 weeks to process. During that time, Catherine Miller called twice more, each time with thinly veiled threats about noncompliance and state intervention. The hearing was scheduled for Friday morning. David met them at the courthouse, his expression serious. "The judge is fair, but thorough," he said. "She'll ask about finances, housing, your ability to provide care. Be honest, be clear, and show her that this is what Arthur and Evelyn want." They entered the courtroom. The judge, a black woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Harrison, looked over her glasses at them. "Miss Williams, you're petitioning for guardianship of Arthur and Evelyn Thompson. Can you explain why?" Sophia stood, her hands trembling slightly. "Because they're my family, Your Honor. Not by blood, but by choice. Because they need someone who will fight for them, protect them, give them dignity. Because I can provide that." "Can you afford to provide that?" "Guardianship includes financial responsibility. I work full-time at First Richmond Bank. I have health insurance that can be extended to cover them. I have a stable home, and they contribute. Evelyn provides child care for my son. Arthur handles home maintenance. We're partners." Judge Harrison turned to Arthur and Evelyn. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, is this what you want?" "Yes," Arthur said firmly. "Absolutely yes. You understand that Miss Williams would have legal authority over medical decisions, finances, living arrangements?" "We trust her completely," Evelyn said. "She saved our lives, literally saved our lives." The judge made notes, her expression unreadable. I'm going to approve this guardianship on a provisional basis for 6 months. Miss Williams, you'll submit quarterly reports about their welfare. If I see any indication that this arrangement isn't working, I'll revisit the decision. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then guardianship is granted." Outside the courthouse, Evelyn grabbed Sophia and held on tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Arthur shook David's hand, then Sophia's, his grip firm and strong. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes," Sophia said. "I did." That night, she lay awake thinking about what she'd just committed to. Legal responsibility for 2 people she'd known for less than a month. If something went wrong, it would be on her. All on her. But nothing felt wrong. For the first time in months, everything felt exactly right. The call came on a Tuesday morning 2 weeks after the guardianship hearing. Sophia was at work when her phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello, is this Sophia Williams?" A woman's voice, sharp and educated. "Yes, who's this?" "Patricia Thompson, Evelyn and Arthur's daughter. I'd like to know why you have my parents." Sophia stepped outside the bank, her heart pounding. "Your parents are staying with me because they had nowhere else to go. That's impossible. They have a house. Ryan bought them a house. Ryan sold their house and stole the money. Your parents were abandoned at a bus stop. I found them." There was a long silence. "I don't believe you. Ryan wouldn't—" "Ryan is in jail, Patricia. He's being charged with elder fraud. You can call the Richmond Police Department and confirm that yourself." Another silence. Longer this time. "I want to see them. Give me your address." "I need to ask them first if they want to see you. They're my parents. You can't keep them from me." "I'm not keeping them from anyone, but I'm not giving out my address without their permission." Sophia hung up, hands shaking. She called home immediately. Arthur answered. "Your daughter Patricia just called me. She wants to see you." She heard Arthur tell Evelyn. Muffled conversation. Then Evelyn came on the line. "What did she say?" "That she wants to see you. That she didn't know about Ryan. She knew." Evelyn's voice was bitter. "She knew something was wrong. We told her Ryan was acting strange. That money was disappearing. She said we were being paranoid. She said we should trust our son." "Do you want to see her?" A long pause. "I don't know. I honestly don't know." "It's your choice. Completely your choice." "Give her the address," Arthur said in the background. "Let her come. We need to face this eventually." Saturday morning arrived with gray skies and cold wind. Sophia had cleaned the apartment obsessively, though she wasn't sure why. Arthur and Evelyn sat on the couch like they were waiting for execution. The knock came at 10 a.m. Exactly. Sophia opened the door to find a woman in her late 40s, blonde hair pulled back, expensive coat, designer bag. Behind her stood a man in a business suit, equally polished. "Patricia, where are my parents?" "Inside. But before you come in, we need to establish some ground rules." Patricia pushed past her. "Mom, Dad?" Evelyn stood slowly. She didn't move toward her daughter. "Hello, Patricia." "What is happening? Why are you living here with—" Patricia looked at Sophia with barely concealed disgust. "Her?" "Because she saved us," Arthur said quietly. "When Ryan left us with nothing, she took us in." "Ryan didn't leave you with nothing. He bought you a house." "He stole our house," Evelyn said, her voice trembling. "He sold it for a fraction of its value and kept the money. We have nothing, Patricia, nothing." "That's ridiculous. Ryan is a financial advisor. He was helping you invest." "He's a con artist," Sophia cut in. "He's done this to multiple elderly couples. He's currently in jail awaiting trial." Patricia's husband stepped forward. "Who the hell are you to make accusations about family you don't know?" I'm the person who found your in-laws sobbing at a bus stop where their son abandoned them. Where were you? We live in New York. We have our own lives, our own children. Your parents needed help and you weren't there. So don't come in here acting like you have any right to judge what I've done. Swooped in to play savior, is that it? Patricia turned to her parents. Can't you see what's happening? She's isolated you, convinced you that your own family abandoned you, made herself indispensable. This is textbook elder manipulation. Sophia felt. Her temper snapped like a wire pulled too tight. Manipulation. I work full-time to support them. I use my own money to hire a lawyer. I became their legal guardian so the state wouldn't put them in a facility. What have you done? Legal guardian? Patricia's face went white. You have no right. The court gave me that right. Your parents chose this. They're not mentally competent to make that choice. Ryan proved that by taking advantage of them. Don't you dare suggest we're incompetent. Arthur stood up, his voice like thunder. We made a mistake trusting Ryan, but we're perfectly capable of deciding where we want to live and who we want to live with. Dad, please. No, you listen to me. Arthur's hand shook. When Ryan sold our house, we called you. Do you remember? We called you crying, saying something felt wrong, and you told us we were overreacting. You told us to trust Ryan because he's family. Well, family destroyed us, Patricia, and a stranger saved us. So, don't you come into this home and question our judgment? Patricia looked like she'd been slapped. Her eyes welled up. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know it was this bad. You didn't want to know, Evelyn said softly. It was easier to believe everything was fine. So what? You're just going to live here with her forever? As long as she'll have us, Arthur said. Patricia turned to Sophia, her expression hardening. You can't take care of them properly. You're too young. You have a baby. You work all day. They need proper care. Professional care. They need family, Sophia said. They need people who actually show up. I'm here now. 3 weeks too late. Patricia's husband grabbed her arm. Come on. We're not getting anywhere. He looked at Arthur and Evelyn. We're staying at the Marriott downtown, room 412. If you change your minds, if you want real help, call us. They left without saying goodbye. After the door closed, Evelyn sank back onto the couch. She wasn't crying, but she looked hollowed out, emptied. She thinks we're senile, Arthur said. Our own daughter thinks we've lost our minds. She's scared, Sophia said. She's dealing with guilt and fear, and it's coming out as anger. She'll be back. She won't let this go, Evelyn whispered. She'll try to take us away from you. Sophia sat between them on the couch, taking their hands. Then we'll fight her together. But she knew Evelyn was right. Patricia wasn't done, not even close. The letter from Patricia's lawyer arrived 4 days later. David called her at work the moment he received the court filing. Sophia, Patricia is challenging the guardianship. She's petitioning for it to be transferred to her, claiming you're too young and inexperienced, that you coerced Arthur and Evelyn during a vulnerable time, and that keeping them in Virginia away from their New York family is harmful to their well-being. Can she do that? She can try, and she has resources. Good, lawyers, expert witnesses. This isn't going to be easy. That night, Sophia sat at the kitchen table with Arthur and Evelyn, the legal papers spread between them like evidence of a crime. You should let us go, Evelyn said quietly. What? To New York, with Patricia. You've done so much already. You shouldn't have to fight a legal battle for us. You don't want to go to New York. No, Arthur admitted. We don't. But we also don't want to destroy your life. Sophia looked at them both. These two people who'd become grandparents to Ethan, who'd filled the silence in her home with laughter and stories and purpose. She thought about coming home to an empty apartment again. She thought about Ethan growing up without them. "You're not destroying my life," she said. "You're the best thing that's happened to my life since Michael died. But the legal fees, the time, the stress, I don't care. We're fighting this." David warned them the trial would be thorough. Patricia's lawyer, a man named Richard Chen, was known for being aggressive and effective. "He'll bring in psychologists to evaluate Arthur and Evelyn's mental capacity," David said, "social workers to inspect your home, financial experts to question your ability to provide adequate care. He'll try to paint you as a well-meaning but naive young woman in over her head. He'll suggest you're financially benefiting from this arrangement somehow. He'll make it sound like you're the one taking advantage of them. Let him try." The preparation was exhausting. Sophia had to document everything, every meal, every doctor's appointment, every expense. She photographed the apartment from every angle. She got letters from neighbors, from her employer, from Ethan's pediatrician, who'd noticed how much healthier the baby seemed with Evelyn's care. 2 days before the trial, Sophia sat with Arthur and Evelyn in the living room. Ethan was asleep in Evelyn's arms, completely peaceful. "I need to tell you both something," Sophia said, "before we go into that courtroom." They looked at her, waiting. "When I found you at that bus stop, I thought I was doing the right thing, being a good person, helping strangers." She had to pause, her throat tight. "But somewhere along the way, you stopped being strangers. You became—" her voice broke. "You became my parents, the parents I wish I'd had growing up, the grandparents Ethan deserves. You've taught me how to be a better mother. You've shown me what real family looks like. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart. So tomorrow, when we go into that courtroom, I need you to know something. I'm not fighting to keep you here out of obligation or stubbornness. I'm fighting because you're my family, and family doesn't give up on each other." Arthur reached over and took her hand. His grip was strong. "You're the daughter I wish I'd had," he said. "The one who actually showed up when it mattered." The courthouse on Monday morning was packed. Patricia sat at the plaintiff's table with her husband and lawyer, all three of them looking polished and confident. On Sophia's side was David, Arthur, Evelyn, and a folder full of documents 3 inches thick. Judge Harrison entered, her expression unreadable. "We're here on a petition to transfer guardianship of Arthur and Evelyn Thompson from Sophia Williams to Patricia Thompson, their biological daughter. Mr. Chen, you may begin." Patricia's lawyer stood, smoothing his tie. "Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Miss Williams is a 28-year-old single mother with a full-time job and an infant. She has no training in elder care, no experience managing complex medical needs, and insufficient financial resources to provide the level of care my client's parents require. Mrs. Thompson, by contrast, is their daughter, lives in a city with excellent medical facilities, has the financial means to provide top-tier care, and has a stable family home with her husband and children." He called his first witness, a psychologist named Dr. Raymond Foster. "Dr. Foster, in your evaluation of Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, what did you find?" "I found 2 elderly individuals who have suffered significant trauma and financial exploitation. Such trauma can impair judgment and make individuals susceptible to undue influence. In your professional opinion, could they have been influenced to accept Miss Williams' guardianship?" "It's certainly possible. In vulnerable states, people often attach to their rescuers. It's a form of trauma bonding." David stood for cross-examination. "Dr. Foster, did you find any evidence of cognitive impairment in Arthur or Evelyn Thompson?" "No, but—" Did you find any evidence that Miss Williams has harmed them in any way? Not directly, but the situation itself. Yes or no, doctor? Has Miss Williams harmed them? No. Have they expressed any desire to leave her care? No, but thank you. No further questions. Next came a social worker who testified about age-appropriate care and proper elder facilities. Then a financial analyst who questioned Sophia's ability to handle future medical expenses. Each witness was professional, articulate, and devastating. Finally, Richard Chen called Patricia to the stand. Mrs. Thompson, can you describe your relationship with your parents? We've always been close. I call every week. I visit when I can. They're wonderful people who've worked hard their whole lives. Did you know about the situation with your brother Ryan? Not until recently. I knew they'd sold their house, but Ryan told me he was helping them invest the money. I had no idea he was stealing from them. And when you learned Miss Williams had guardianship of your parents, how did you feel? Patricia's voice broke. Terrified. My parents are in their 70s. They need specialized care. People who understand their needs. This young woman, with all good intentions, simply isn't equipped to provide that. I love my parents. I want what's best for them, and I can give them that in New York. It was a perfect performance. Sophia watched the judge's face, trying to read her reaction. Then it was their turn. David called Arthur to the stand first. Mr. Thompson, do you want to live with your daughter, Patricia? No. Why not? Arthur took a breath. Because Patricia loves us the way you love a responsibility. Sophia loves us the way you love family. Patricia would put us in a nice facility with good food and activities. Sophia made us part of her life. There's a difference. Do you feel Miss Williams has taken advantage of you? Absolutely not. She saved our lives. And more than that, she gave us purpose again. I fix things around her apartment. I feel useful. Evelyn cares for her baby. We're not just being taken care of. We're contributing. We matter. If the court transfers guardianship to your daughter, what would you do? Arthur's voice was firm. I'm 75 years old. At some point, the court has to respect that I know what I want and where I want to be. And I want to be with Sophia. Evelyn's testimony was similar, but more emotional. She talked about holding Ethan, about having a purpose for the first time since retiring, about feeling like a grandmother again instead of a burden. My daughter wants to do the right thing, Evelyn said. But the right thing to her means putting us somewhere safe and supervised. The right thing to Sophia means making us part of her family. I don't want safe. I want family. Finally, David called Sophia. Miss Williams, why did you take in Arthur and Evelyn Thompson? Because they needed help, and I could help them. Are you benefiting financially from this arrangement? No, they have no money. I support them entirely. Then why continue? Why fight so hard to keep guardianship when you could have an easier life without them? Sophia looked at Arthur and Evelyn. Because they're not a burden. They're my family. They help raise my son. They've taught me things about patience and strength and what it means to show up for people. When my husband died, I thought I'd lost my family. But I didn't lose it. I found a new one. Richard Chen stood for cross-examination. Miss Williams, you're 28 years old with a 9-month-old infant. What happens when Arthur or Evelyn has a medical emergency and you're at work? I call 911, same as anyone would. What if they need long-term care? Nursing facilities cost thousands per month. Can you afford that? We'll figure it out together. Together. Or will you be the one making all the decisions because you hold the legal power? I make decisions with them, not for them. But legally, you have the authority to override their wishes, correct? Legally, yes, but I never would. How can the court trust that? Sophia met his eyes. Because for 6 months I've proven it. Every decision, every choice, every plan, we make together. That's what family does. Judge Harrison called a recess. They waited in the hallway, none of them speaking. Sophia's hands wouldn't stop shaking. 30 minutes later, they were called back in. Judge Harrison looked at her notes, then at everyone in the courtroom. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony. This is an unusual case. On paper, Mrs. Thompson appears to be the more suitable guardian. She's the biological daughter. She has more resources. She can provide what most would consider more appropriate care. Sophia's heart sank. However, the judge continued, this court must consider what the individuals in question want. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson are not cognitively impaired. They're not being coerced. They've made a clear, rational choice about where they want to live and who they want caring for them. And I believe that choice should be respected. Sophia couldn't breathe. Family isn't just about blood. It's about love, care, respect, and commitment. From what I've seen, Miss Williams has provided all of those things. Therefore, guardianship will remain with Sophia Williams. However, I'm ordering quarterly check-ins for the next year to ensure this arrangement continues to serve everyone's best interests. The gavel came down. Sophia grabbed David's arm to keep from falling. Arthur and Evelyn were hugging each other and crying. Across the aisle, Patricia sat frozen, her face pale. Outside the courthouse, Patricia caught up to them. Mom, Dad, please. Evelyn turned. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. I love you, Patricia said. I know I wasn't there when you needed me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We love you too, Evelyn said softly. But we're staying with Sophia. Patricia nodded slowly. She looked at Sophia. Take care of them. I will. If you need anything, money, medical help, anything, call me, please. Okay. Patricia walked away, her husband's arm around her shoulders. Sophia felt a strange mix of victory and sadness. That night, back at the apartment, they ordered pizza and ate in tired silence. Ethan crawled from person to person, babbling happily. We need to talk about the future, Arthur said finally. Medical costs, long-term planning. What happens if our health declines? We'll face it together, Sophia said. As a family, the way it should be. Evelyn reached across the table and took Sophia's hand. Thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for being worth fighting for. 3 months after the trial, Sophia got the call she'd been hoping for. We'd like to offer you the position. The HR director from Charlotte First Financial sounded excited. Senior Customer Relations Manager. It's a significant step up from your current role. What's the salary? When she heard the number, Sophia had to sit down. Nearly double what she made. Now, better benefits, better hours, a chance at a real future. There's just one thing, Sophia said. I need to bring my family with me. Of course. The relocation package includes... No, it's complicated. She explained about Arthur and Evelyn. There was a pause. That's very unusual. I know, but they're non-negotiable. Another pause. Okay, we'll make it work. That evening, Sophia sat Arthur and Evelyn down. I got a job offer in Charlotte. Better pay, better hours, better everything. But I need to know if you'd want to come with me. They looked at each other. One of those married for 50 years looks that communicated everything without words. Yes, Arthur said. Absolutely yes. The move took 6 weeks to arrange. Sophia found a small house to rent, 3 bedrooms with a yard, something they never could have afforded in Richmond. The extra money from the new job meant she could get family health insurance that covered Arthur and Evelyn. Real coverage with dental and vision. I've never had insurance this good, Arthur admitted, looking at the paperwork with wonder. Charlotte was different. quieter than Richmond, but with a warmth that surprised them. The neighbors brought over casseroles when they moved in. The grocery store clerk chatted with Evelyn about recipes. It felt like the kind of place where people looked after each other. Arthur found a community garden 2 blocks away. He started spending mornings there, his hands in the soil, talking to other retirees about tomatoes and proper mulching techniques. He came home dirty and happy. Evelyn joined a book club at the local library. She came home talking about characters and plot twists, her eyes bright. "I forgot what it was like to have friends," she told Sophia one night. "Real friends, not just people I knew from church." Ethan started saying real words. Mama first, then Baba for bottle. But the word that made them all cry was Gamma. For Grandma, reaching his arms up to Evelyn. "He thinks I'm his grandmother," Evelyn whispered, holding him close. "You are his grandmother," Sophia said. 6 months into Charlotte, Sophia met Julian at the hospital during one of Arthur's routine checkups. He was a nurse, tall, with kind eyes and an easy smile. When Arthur's blood pressure spiked due to anxiety about the appointment, Julian sat with him, talking about baseball until Arthur calmed down. "You're good at that," Sophia said afterward. 20 years of practice." Julian smiled. "Your dad was really worried." "He's not my dad. It's complicated." "Family usually is." They ran into each other again at the grocery store, then at a coffee shop. Then he asked her to dinner. Sophia said no at first. Too complicated, too soon, too much going on, but Julian was patient. He didn't push. He just kept showing up, being kind, making her laugh. Their first real date was 3 months later. Sophia was terrified to leave Ethan, but Evelyn shooed her out the door. "Go have fun. Remember what that feels like." Dinner turned into coffee. Coffee turned into a walk. A walk turned into standing outside her house at midnight, talking about everything and nothing. "I should warn you," Sophia said. "I come with a lot of baggage." Most interesting people do. "I mean a lot. A baby. 2 elderly roommates who are actually my legal dependents. A dead husband. A mother-in-law who hates me. And about 15 different kinds of trauma." Julian smiled. "I'm a nurse. I've seen worse." He didn't run. That was the shocking part. He met Arthur and Evelyn and treated them like the important people they were, not obstacles to navigate around. He played with Ethan on the floor, making silly voices that made the baby shriek with laughter. "I like him," Arthur said after Julian left one evening. "He's steady." Coming from Arthur, that was the highest compliment. The relationship moved slowly. Sophia needed slow. Julian understood that. He never pushed, never demanded, never made her feel guilty for having priorities other than him. One night, a year after they'd moved to Charlotte, Julian stayed for dinner. It had become routine by then. He'd show up with wine or dessert, help Arthur set the table, chat with Evelyn about her book club, hold Ethan while Sophia finished cooking. After dinner, after Arthur and Evelyn had gone to their room, after Ethan was asleep, Julian and Sophia sat on the porch in the quiet darkness. "I love you," he said simply. Sophia's breath caught. "You don't have to say it back. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know." "I'm terrified," she admitted, "of losing someone again, of Ethan losing someone again." "I know. But you can't live your whole life afraid." 2 years after moving to Charlotte, on an ordinary Tuesday evening, Julian asked them all to sit down in the living room. Even Ethan, now 3 years old and constantly moving, was brought in. "I have a question," Julian said. He pulled out a small box. Sophia's heart stopped. "Before I ask, I need to say something to Arthur and Evelyn." Julian turned to them. "Continue, au revoir. You're part of this family. You're important. And I want you to know that if Sophia says yes, I'm not just marrying her. I'm joining all of you." Arthur's eyes were wet. "Son, that's the best thing anyone's ever said to me." Julian turned to Sophia. "Will you marry me?" She looked around the room, at Arthur and Evelyn, who'd become her parents, at Ethan, who was trying to eat the couch cushion, at Julian, patient and steady and real. "Yes," she said, "but I have conditions." Julian laughed through tears. "Of course you do. Arthur walks me down the aisle. Evelyn is my matron of honor. And we're doing this in the backyard so everyone we love can be there. Deal." The wedding was small. Sophia wore a simple white dress. Arthur cried the entire way down the aisle. Evelyn stood beside her, radiant in lavender, holding a bouquet Sophia had picked from Arthur's garden. Patricia came. So did Evelyn and Arthur's other children, Alex and Jennifer, people who'd been absent for years but couldn't miss this. They looked at Sophia with a mixture of gratitude and shame. "Thank you," Patricia said quietly before the ceremony, "for saving them, for loving them, for doing what I should have done." "They saved me too," Sophia replied. Sharon didn't come. Sophia had sent an invitation, knowing it would be refused, but she'd needed to try. The ceremony was simple. No elaborate speeches, no grand gestures. Just promises made in front of the people who mattered. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Arthur started clapping first. Ethan joined in, though he had no idea why. Everyone laughed. At the reception in their backyard, Arthur gave a toast. 2.5 years ago, Evelyn and I were abandoned at a bus stop by someone we trusted. Thought our lives were over. We thought we'd lost everything. His voice shook. But a young woman with a baby and more problems than anyone should have to handle decided we were worth saving. She didn't just give us a place to live. She gave us a reason to keep living. So here's to Sophia and Julian. May they have half the love and strength she's already shown us. Everyone drank. Sophia cried. It was perfect. 5 months after the wedding, Sophia found out she was pregnant. "A girl," the ultrasound tech said, smiling. They named her Olivia. When they brought her home from the hospital, Evelyn was waiting, tears streaming down her face. "Another grandbaby," she whispered, holding the tiny bundle. Arthur built a cradle by hand in his workshop in the garage, every joint perfect, every edge smooth. He carved Olivia's name into the headboard. "For when she's old enough to appreciate it," he said. Having 2 children changed everything. The house was louder, messier, fuller, but Arthur and Evelyn adapted like they'd been doing this forever. Arthur taught 4-year-old Ethan to help in the garden. Evelyn sang old lullabies to Olivia in the rocking chair Michael's mother had given them years ago, before the falling out. Life felt whole. Then Arthur collapsed in the garden on a Tuesday morning. The cardiac surgeon was brutally honest. "Severe coronary artery disease. He needs bypass surgery. At his age, there are risks, significant risks." "What are his chances?" Sophia asked. 60% survival rate. Maybe 70 if everything goes perfectly. Arthur was surprisingly calm about it. "I've had a good run. Whatever happens, happens." "Don't talk like that," Evelyn said sharply. "You're not going anywhere." The surgery took 6 hours. Sophia, Julian, Evelyn, and the kids sat in the waiting room. Patricia flew in from New York. Alex came from D.C., Jennifer from Atlanta. For the first time in years, all of Arthur and Evelyn's children were in the EEE, same room. "Thank you for calling us," Patricia said to Sophia, "and for everything else." When the surgeon finally came out, everyone stood at once. He made it. The next 72 hours are critical, but he made it. Evelyn's legs gave out. Julian caught her. Arthur's recovery was slow. Weeks in the hospital, then weeks at home with round-the-clock care. Julian, being a nurse, took over most of it, monitoring vitals, managing medications, helping Arthur relearn how to walk without getting winded. "Now it's our turn to take care of you," Julian told Arthur. "Fair is fair." Gradually, Arthur got stronger. 6 months post-surgery, he was back in the garden, though under strict orders to take it easy. He looked frailer now, moved slower, but his eyes still lit up when Ethan brought him a worm they'd found. "Look, Grandpa, it's huge!" Grandpa, not Arthur, not Mr. Thompson. Grandpa. 2 years later, Evelyn started forgetting things. Small things at first. Where she'd put her glasses, what daybook club met, the name of the neighbor's dog, then bigger things. "She called me Jennifer yesterday," Sophia told Julian one night. "She thought I was her daughter." The diagnosis was Alzheimer's, early stage, but progressing. "How long?" Sophia asked the doctor. "Impossible to say. Could be 5 years, could be 15. Everyone's different." They made adjustments, labels on cabinets, calendars everywhere, a routine that never varied. Arthur took it the hardest, watching the woman he'd loved for 50 years slowly slip away. "She still knows me," he said one morning after a particularly bad episode. "Most days she still knows me." "She'll always know you," Sophia said, though neither of them believed it. For 3 more years they managed. Good days and bad days. Days when Evelyn was completely herself, laughing with the kids, beating everyone at cards. Or days when she didn't know where she was or why strangers were in her house. She died quietly in her sleep on a Sunday morning. She was 80 years old. The funeral was packed. Friends from the book club, neighbors, people from the community garden, Patricia and her family, Alex and his husband, Jennifer and her kids, so many people whose lives Evelyn had touched. Arthur stood at the graveside, dry-eyed and silent. Sophia held his hand. "She was ready," he said finally. "She told me last month, on a good day. She said she was ready to rest." After the funeral, Arthur moved differently through the house. Quieter, smaller, like he was already halfway gone. 3 years after Evelyn's death, on a cold November morning, Ryan showed up at their door. Sophia answered it, not recognizing him at first. He'd aged badly, gray hair, hollow cheeks, eyes that had seen things. "I'm looking for Arthur and Evelyn Thompson," he said. "I'm their son." Sophia's hand tightened on the doorknob. "I know who you are. Is my mother here? I need to apologize. I need to make things right. Your mother is dead. She died 3 years ago." Ryan's face crumpled. He actually staggered backward. "And your father is inside, probably making breakfast. The question is whether I let you in to see him or call the police." "I did my time. 7 years. I just got out." "You stole everything from them. You left them to die at a bus stop." "I know." Ryan's voice broke. "I know what I did. I've had 7 years to think about nothing else. I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm just here to say I'm sorry." Sophia wanted to slam the door in his face, wanted to scream at him about the terror she'd seen in his parents' eyes, about the years they'd spent rebuilding from nothing, about the fact that Evelyn died without ever understanding why her son betrayed her. Instead, she said, "Wait here." She found Arthur in the kitchen, teaching 8-year-old Ethan how to make pancakes. Olivia was at the table, coloring. "Arthur, someone's here to see you." "Who?" "Ryan." The spatula clattered to the floor. They talked on the porch. Sophia watched through the window. She couldn't hear what they said, but she saw Ryan crying, saw Arthur's face go through anger and pain and something else. After an hour, they came back inside. "He's staying for breakfast," Arthur said quietly. Ryan ate without speaking, tears streaming down his face the whole time. The kids stared at him with open curiosity. After breakfast, Arthur and Ryan went for a walk. When they came back, Arthur looked exhausted, but lighter somehow. "I forgave him," he told Sophia later. "I don't know if I should have. I don't know if Evelyn would have. But I forgave him." "Why?" "Because I'm 83 years old and I don't have energy left for hate. And because he's still my son. Even after everything, he's still my son." Ryan started visiting once a month. Awkward, painful visits where everyone tiptoed around the past. He brought gifts for the kids, trying too hard. He offered money, which Arthur refused. "Keep your money," Arthur said. "If you want to make things right, be here. Show up. That's all I want." One night, a year after Ryan had reappeared, Arthur called Sophia into his room. He looked tired. So tired. "I need to tell you something," he said. "The doctor says my heart is failing. Not an emergency, but soon. Maybe months. Maybe a year." Sophia's throat closed up. "Arthur, listen. I need you to promise me something. When I'm gone, take care of Ryan." "What?" "He's broken. He's trying. He needs family. Promise me you'll look after him. Not like you did for us, but just don't let him disappear again." "Arthur, I can't promise. He's still my son. Ethan, Olivia, Ryan. They're all my grandchildren now in different ways. Promise me you won't forget that." Sophia was crying now. "I promise." Arthur smiled. "You've given me so much more time than I ever expected. That night at the bus stop, I thought I was waiting to die. But you gave me 9 more years. 9 years of watching children grow, of being useful, of being loved. That's more than most people get." He died 6 months later, peacefully, with Sophia holding one hand and Ryan holding the other. At the funeral, Ryan gave the eulogy, his voice shaking. "My father had every reason to hate me," he said. "I stole from him. I betrayed him. I abandoned him and my mother when they needed me most. But he forgave me. He showed me that it's never too late to try to be better. And he introduced me to the woman who saved him, Sophia Williams, who taught all of us what family really means." After the funeral, Patricia pulled Sophia aside. "You did something incredible," she said. "You gave our parents 9 more years of happiness. Real happiness, not just existing. Thank you." "They gave me more," Sophia said simply. Years later, Sophia would look back at that night at the bus stop and wonder what would have happened if she'd just gone home. If she'd minded her own business, kept her head down, protected her own heart. She would have missed everything. The chaos and the joy and the impossible family they'd built from nothing. Ethan was 12 now. Olivia was 9. They called Evelyn Grandma in their stories, though they barely remembered her. They talked about Grandpa Arthur like he was a legend. And they included Uncle Ryan in family dinners, though everyone was still a little uncomfortable. "Was it worth it?" Julian asked her one night after the kids were asleep. Taking them in. Everything that came after. Sophia thought about the sleepless nights and the legal battles and the financial strain. She thought about Evelyn's last lucid day, when she'd held Sophia's hand and said, "You're the best daughter I ever had." She thought about Arthur building that cradle for Olivia, his hand steady and sure. "Yes," she said, "every second of it." Because family wasn't about blood. It wasn't about obligation. It was about showing up when someone needed you, even when it was hard. It was about choosing to stay when everyone else left. It was about a young widow finding 2 abandoned people at a bus stop and deciding, against all logic and reason, that they were worth saving. And in saving them, she'd saved herself. Thank you so much for staying with us through Sophia's incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to True Justice. We share meaningful stories like this every week. Tell me in the comments, what part of Sophia's story hit you the hardest? Was it the moment she chose Arthur and Evelyn over Sharon? The guardianship battle? Or maybe Arthur's final words about forgiveness? I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up when you need them most. Until next time, keep showing up for the people who matter.